Good morning and welcome to another edition of Central Coast Newspapers Coast Community News Video News. I'm Jackie Pearson and today we're joined by Labor Councillor for the Gosford East Ward, Jeff Sundstrom. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you for making time to be with us.
It's my pleasure to be here.
By the looks of your following on social media, you're well known to the community. But for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about Jeff Sundstrom and how you got to be a councillor on the new Central Coast Council.
All right. I was drawn into politics, I'd say, by being invited along to a group called the Community Union Alliance, the Central Coast Community Union Alliance, which is a great organisation that brings together community members and unionists to try to work together to make our lot here on the coast happier, more livable, and to create an atmosphere where we can have good jobs and better services.
Okay.
I'm on the local committee for the Fire Brigade Employees Union, and in that role I was asked to come along and attend this new organisation. And I found there were some lovely people there with some really strong ideas about how to make our area thrive.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd been on the sidelines and being a keyboard warrior, and I was, in a cyber manner, poking Barry O'Farrell in the chest and poking Craig Thompson in the chest, and I decided it was time to hop into the game, and so I joined the party of my choice, which happened to be the Labor Party.
And when was that? What year?
Around 2012.
Okay.
So I'm 57 years old, so it's in those terms it's recent in my life.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the conversations and enjoyed hearing about other people's ideas about how we can, at the risk of repeating myself, improve our lot here on the coast.
And so this is the council election was your second campaign? You ran for the seat of Terrigal?
It was the second campaign where I've been a candidate, but I've been involved in campaigns over the years for other candidates. So it was my second shot at it, so to speak.
And how did you find the process of the election and then the induction?
Yeah, okay. The process, the campaign, I love it. I absolutely love campaigning. I know people would say he's crazy, I know, but I love going out and knocking on doors and talking to people and seeing if there's a common thread there or if there's a difference, and if there's a difference, can we come together somewhere in the middle? But to me, it's a little bit like being at a party, and you meet somebody and have a bit of a chat with them, and if it goes well, it goes well. If it doesn't go well, you move on and have a chat with somebody else.
And how did getting elected feel? Given that you'd been on the other side of the fence when you lost Terrigal, how did actually making it over the line feel?
It was really good. It was really nice to know that the work that had been done had brought out a really favourable result. And that's not to say that in the Terrigal 2015 campaign we didn't get a favourable result. We ended up with the biggest swing on the Central Coast. Unfortunately, it wasn't big enough to take the seat, but we made a fantastic effort, and I've felt really rewarded at the end of that campaign as well. So I guess I'm a silver lining, glass half full type of guy.
Right.
I think that this council should be able to work together very well.
Okay. Speaking about working together, I think there was an expectation, especially from the Labor side of the community, that Labor would come out with at least the position of mayor or deputy mayor, and that didn't happen. Can you put a finger on what happened there and what that means, given that you're the biggest voting bloc on council?
Yeah. Well, obviously it doesn't affect the size of our voting bloc. It doesn't affect our capacity to negotiate with others that may be of a like mind when it comes to putting a hand up or not at council meetings. We just mathematically didn't have the numbers to secure the mayor's position. It would have been nice, but I think the mayor we have will do a fantastic job. There's two two philosophers that I like to refer to as often as possible, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, and they say you can't always get what you want, but sometimes you'll get what you need.
If you try.
Yeah, if you try. Yeah. And I feel that if you pulled all of the responses from all of the councillors into a vote compass type of function, I think you'll find that we've got a slightly left and very socially aware group. And having Jane as the mayor is very suitable in that case.
It was interesting that in the Wallara 2 vote on Monday night about whether the council retained the position of the former councillors, which was opposition to the mine, that only 2 Liberal councillors attempted to change that position.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yes.
I was a bit surprised to see that the amendment that came up, and as it panned out, with all the content of the previous or the proposed minute being removed, and that's why I stood to raise a point of order. And I still consider that my point of order was valid. That exists. Yeah.
Other hot topics. Meeting frequency. Are you sure that 1 meeting a month is enough? Now, when we had 2 councils, both had half the population to deal with, and they both met fortnightly. Coast Community News and Central Coast newspapers were quite critical of the move made by the administrator to 1 meeting per month. I think the community expectation was that once we had elected councillors back, we would see more frequent meetings. Do you have an opinion about whether once a month is going to be enough?
I don't think that we've been through enough meetings to gauge whether 1 meeting a month is going to be enough. With the range of new committees that will come up over the next few months, and the idea there being that councillors will get together probably 4 times a month, not in the capacity of a full meeting where votes will be taken. But I think that will go a long way towards resolving any issues that people may have about how many times we meet per month.
Did the Deputy Mayor flag with his fellow councillors prior to Monday's meeting that he was going to ask for a deferral of discussion of those committees? Not
with myself, no, I was unaware of that move.
There's questions about those committees and you probably don't know the answers. Okay. And in relation to the 50 substantive objections before a DA can be referred to council, I'm getting calls daily from people in small communities where there are 7 or a dozen people profoundly affected by development, but they will struggle to get 50 substantive objections. What's your position and what do you believe should happen to that rule that the administrator brought in?
Yeah, I think it should be as it had been in the past, but I don't think that... I agree with you completely that there may be an issue where less than 50 people are aware of what's going on.
Oh, look.
And that's part of why I say over the next few weeks and months, things will crystallise, and I think we're heading towards being a very effective and efficient council.
Okay, that's good to hear. The other thing that seems to be happening like a runaway train is the New South Wales Government's Regional Plan 2036, which includes things like mineral extraction, includes things like substantially growing the population. They've appointed a Coordinator General to basically oversee its implementation. Have you been briefed about that yet?
No. And what I'd like to see is a briefing from the Coordinator General. I think Ms Shearer would be well served to come and talk to us.
Okay, all right. Any other issues at the moment that you think are substantive that need to be dealt with quickly?
There's one issue in the Gosford East Ward which has had a lot of oxygen and came to a bit of a point through this week is the Davistown Wetlands, of course.
Right.
Yeah. I'm keen for to have a really good look at the state government's coastal management plan to see if it really is their responsibility to acquire wetlands, and that's what I've been told. The issue is both an environmental one and an emotive one, and I'm saddened to hear that some people were speaking in threatening tones towards the agent and the vendor.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I don't think that's helpful or necessary in any way. But I'd like to reassure the community that the protections that are in place at the moment are very strong protections.
Okay.
And
so Adam Crouch has said on local radio that some of that land is already zoned so that it could accommodate a single dwelling on each of the blocks.
yes,
That would in itself make a huge difference to Davistown.
correct. Yeah, but they're in a position where those blocks, on paper, can have a property constructed on them, but there are restrictions about that property, so it still would be in the form of a DA.
Right, which would give us all enough time to get our 50 substantive objections in.
Yeah.
And
And I think that in that circumstance, it behoves us to have a look at the appropriateness of those restrictions and whether they need to be tightened.
there's also the indigenous heritage in that area, isn't it? I know Uncle Phil Pulbrook has been working on that issue. Is that another reason to conserve this particular part of our
Look,
ecology?
it's absolutely a reason why these things need to be looked at fully. To ignore the indigenous heritage and the indigenous significance of any lands, not specifically these, but any lands, we do it at our peril.
You've got a huge job to do, Jeff Sundstrom, and meantime you're gearing up for fire season and all sorts of other things. So thank you for taking the time out to join us and for chatting with our audience.
Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure, and you've given me some things to think about, which I appreciate. And this is the sort of things that I'd pick up in door knocking as well. People, look at things a little bit differently to the way I may have, and I welcome contact and I welcome facilities such as you're providing here.
J Sundstrom at centralcoast.newsouthwales.gov.au.
Send them in and keep them coming.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.